we've got somebody very important and close to this just joining us. I wasn't wanting to make this public because I didn't know if he was going to make it because he's doing something personal to him tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, Alex Cairnie. How are you, Alex?
How you doing, Craig?
I'm very well, mate. Now, for those that don't know Alex runs AC Spartan Child Protection organisation. He's very involved with holding these people to task, and I thought he'd be an excellent person to have on. I didn't want to publicise this in case Alex couldn't, because he's doing something very personal to him right now. So, Alex, first of all, just go to you. What's your opinion on what's happened today? Are you happy? Do you have reservations? How do you see it panning out, my friend?
In regards to the inquiry?
Yeah.
Complete and utter whitewash.
Okay. And why do you? You're similar opinions to me, but why are you not delighted right now, and what's your concerns, mate?
I'm currently out in Kilsyth just now at the vigil for young Cole Cooper, the young boy for Glasgow, for Kilsyth that passed away recently. Mm-hmm. Just want to give that a mention. His family have done incredible here. What a touching tribute. Like Police Scotland, like their statements in regards to this case, which is active, the closely guarded way that they display information to the public domain, like the respawner case, all of these cases that leave stains on the police forces involved for lack of credible information to the public. I just believe that in the bigger scale, the national scale, I don't believe that Britain, the establishment as we know, have got the cockles or the minerals to criminally indict the public servants, the civil servants that were involved in decades of grooming gang investigation. They've never, ever, ever helped shine the light on the scale of the problem. In fact, they've done the exact opposite. They completely and utterly covered it up from top to bottom for decades, fully complicit in the knowledge that it was happening. And the reason that they did that is because of the scale of the problem, the scale of the amount of people involved in a civil servant capacity. All of these salaried agencies and authorities, commissions, police, investigations team, all of them, you're talking about criminally indicting possibly thousands of civil servants, Craig, in criminal trials, putting them in the dock for neglect, dereliction of duty, malfeasance in office, all of those terms that get bandied about willy-nilly and forgotten about, glossed over, painted over, when the reality is these people are in phenomenally, exuberant salaries to do a job, which is the representation of the public and the protection services, and they failed massively on a catastrophic scale. There is nobody that held their own and was diligent. All of these investigations, in I think 52 or 53 postcodes in the UK, you're talking about tens of thousands of victims here. Some of these young girls were raped hundreds and hundreds of times, if not approaching the thousands. I certainly could name a couple that were raped in the region of 1,000 times, documented by the National Crime Agency. There is no way in the world that our authorities, our establishment are going to indict that many people, so they have to cover it up. It has to be another whitewash unless they expedite it to external authorities with no monetization, with no links, with nothing to gain, nothing to benefit. It can only be a public inquiry, and it has to be conducted literally by members of the public, because we can't trust anyone in the establishment. And if we can't trust them, they shouldn't be entrusted with such a huge inquiry. This is going to be historically one of the most prominent, important public records ever in the UK's history. And if they don't get it right and they cover it up, yet again, the divide between the public and the public sector that represent us, the gulf's going to grow massive. The distrust is already astronomical. The hatred for the police, in the establishment in this country is beyond anything that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I want to live in a country where I actually respect the authorities and I might even respect the police and law and order. But we can't respect them when the very police officers entrusted with handling young girls that were going to police stations who had been groomed and escaped these gangs were then raping and further abusing them while they were in their care. This has been documented by the National Crime Agency. This happened. We can't be in any denial that this happened. Police officers raped children that were going to them for help, that had no parental guardianship and no one to represent them. I still don't believe, Craig, that the general population know the scale of this problem. We know the term bandied around, grooming gang inquiry, rape gang, crisis. I don't believe that they know the scale of this. I know the scale of it. Tommy Robinson knows the scale of it. Look at the way he's been treated for talking about this for over 15 years. We're talking about possibly the biggest stain ever in the history of the British establishment. The rape of children, the organised mass rape of children.
Yeah, I think you've helped me understand the scale of this, Alex, with some of the conversations that you've been kind enough to have with me over the time that we've known each other. And it's certainly opened my eyes. It's frightening, the level of this. I remember one night somebody told me a crazy story. I'm not going to get into too many details, but it was quite a rural area. And I thought, that can't be right. And I phoned you and I said, look, is this true? And you were able to rhyme off names, businesses, streets, areas, towns. And you're like, yeah, and this is what they're doing. And it blew me away because I genuinely thought it was somebody over egging the pudding and stuff. And, just to go slightly off topic, Alex, it's still associated with it. Just for those who maybe on my channel are not aware of you or, know a wee bit about you. Not, I know loads of people follow you avidly, but for those that maybe don't, can you tell people what happened to you start of the year with your criminal case and why you ended up in court?
Yeah. So we intercepted a guy from Ayrshire who was grooming an 11-year-old child. He was 32 years of age, prolific online groomer, completely and utterly out of control, who had organised to pick that child up at a train station in Barhead, where he would have proceeded to rape her in his car, should the opportunity be there. He would have made that opportunity happen. So I intercepted him after a vehicle pursuit. We pursued him with a vehicle, myself and my co-accused at the time. And we were, 3 months later, apprehension warrants were put out for us, and I was held for a few nights and charged with reckless endangerment in charge of a motor vehicle, robbery and assault on his person because I removed his phone for evidential reasons from his person, and I was charged with abduction because I held him for 30 minutes until the police arrived. I took it to trial where I had to accept a plea deal to have my co-accused dropped from the indictment, and I was found guilty of abduction 1, and robbery for removing his phone from his person, which was later removed from the actual court proceedings. It was a bit of a strange one. It appeared in the newspapers, but it was dropped as part of the deal. Anyway, I've been found guilty of abduction, which limits my travel, globally and stuff like that, limits my, my access to certain roles. Now, that guy has been on the run for over 2 years. The family of the child have never, ever received any support at all from the authorities. They've been incredibly supportive of me all the way through my trial. He is at court on Friday in Paisley Sheriff. But at this moment in time, I'm led to believe the police don't know his whereabouts. I know his whereabouts. He's in the south of England and he's involved in all sorts of sexual websites, like real deviancy stuff. So on Friday, we'll find out if he's man enough to turn up and face the charges. If he doesn't, it would be highly likely that I would travel to England and locate him myself and possibly bring him to the border and hand him over to the police at Carlisle. Because to bring him into Scotland would have me charged with abduction again and certainly get me a prison sentence.
Yeah, I remember well for those who told this story to Alex and I were going to a meeting one night with some individuals and sat down. How you, Alex? Yeah, no bad apart from my charge that's coming up. And my judges dropped. And the first thing I said to you was, surely that's citizen's arrest. And you'd let me know that I was not totally unaware that you don't have that protection in Scotland. If you'd have done the same thing in Carlisle, you would have had no criminal.
There'd be no case. It's a Section 24A citizen's arrest. Everybody thinks we have it. We don't have it. And I did question in the court, the judge was very unfriendly towards our activities with the Spartan stuff. He wasn't a fan of what we do, regardless of how effective we are, which I believe we're very effective. And he made it very clear that people like myself should not be getting involved in this type of activity. He told me that, I should drop it. He also said that we should have let Bard go about his own will, his own free will. I said, so let him on his way when we had the full proof that he was about to rape a child. I says, no man with an ounce of moral decency would allow anyone to go about their own free will and go and collect a child to molest her. I said, that's ridiculous. And, on that note, I would be looking at your history, Your Honour. He wasn't a particularly nice guy.
You're not shy, Alex, I'll give you that.
No, I'm not shy, no. If it has to be said, I'll say it. Because he's a man and I'm a man. We're only men. The only thing that separates us is a title. And for me, respect is earned. You don't just sign in the dotted line and everybody's got to bow to you because you wear a wig. That's a ridiculous mentality. The justice is not for us. It's not for the working class. It's not for guys like myself. Real justice is for the rich that can afford barristership and King's Counsel. So I took it in the chin. I have no regrets. I would do it again tomorrow. We stopped a man raping a 11-year-old girl, a child, and I would do it all again, and it would have to be done again because the scale of the problems is relentless. It's out of control. You know the numbers that tell you this stuff.
Yeah. I've got a message up on the screen. I don't know if you'll be able to see it in your phone, Alex. I'll read it out to you. It's a Stuart Robb says, "Hi, Alex. Last seen you at Big John's funeral coming in from Cyprus tonight. Big Kev Taylor Barhead says hi. As a veteran myself, thanks for your service. Jenny Girl,
Kev's a gent.
Glasgow's a mess."
Yep. Yeah, I know Kev. He's a good guy. Craig, it's going back to your original question about the inquiry, right? You've got advocates on X. I'm on Twitter as well, AC_Spartan. Sammy Woodhouse, people like that have been advocating for years. Maggie Oliver, Rupert Lowe. Everybody's got their own reasons for doing this. My reasons are quite simple. My hatred for the establishment is... I never thought I would be capable of such hatred of anything in my lifetime. My hate's more powerful than any love I have in me. It's damaging because they lie. They're in the position to implement the power to make a difference. They can make the change. They can protect children, give mandatory sentences for child molesters and rapists and paedophiles, indict them fully, hit them with the full force of what we can hit them with, put them away for life. 2 strikes and you're out, not 3, 4, 5, 6. I've caught a guy that's been caught 6, 7 times. He's never been in jail because he's got caseworkers and social workers and he plays on a diagnosis of Asperger's. There is no medical correlation between having Asperger's and wanting to rape children. This is out of control. Online, Snapchat, multiple apps are out of control. There is no safeguarding online. You're putting children like items in a menu for vampires, and when you give a kid a device, you're inviting them in the room. This inquiry will be a whitewash, mate.
Yeah, I think so. Alex, have you been into that thing just now? Do you need to go? What's your sort of the time?
No, I was there for the service. I'm just standing.
All right, that's fair. I didn't want to keep you back.
I'm all right, mate.
Something else I want to share with people. I think I shared it on Twitter. It was something you put out a couple of weeks ago, and I'm sure it was Snapchat. And you were quite vocal about the responsibility of parents. They need to start taking responsibility. And I'm sure it was Snapchat you mentioned. And then I phoned you and I went, "How bad is it?" And it was frightening what you told me. Is that worth sharing again with a different audience? It's maybe...
Yeah, every day, even today, every single day, the inbox just goes like the clappers. It's in meltdown with parents who are telling us that their 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old daughter or son are being groomed on Snapchat. Every day, without fail, 7 days a week, Craig. From morning, noon, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, our inbox goes, people coming off night shift, checking devices. But it's I maybe was a little bit harsh the other day when I said to somebody, I don't believe that you can be listening to anything I'm saying, and you tell me you follow me, but I don't believe that you follow what I'm saying, because you're telling me a 7-year-old's been groomed and been sent masturbation videos by a man in Birmingham who's probably 50. If you were listening, your kid wouldn't be on Snapchat, and it's easy to say, oh, but all their pals are on it, and if I don't let them on it, they'll throw a tantrum. Irrelevant, they're a child. Stop making life easy by just handing kids devices to buy their silence. It sounds bad. I'm a parent. We all get stressed. We've all got responsibilities, and kids can be hard work. But if you don't do the checks, and you don't put in the blockers, and you don't implement the safeguarding, and you don't download the correct apps, you are inviting these guys right in to your kid's bedroom, and they will take full opportunity. They will take it, and they will exploit it, and they will get to your kids. And when the damage is done forever.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say, because of the deviant nature of the people they're dealing with, they will come up with cunning and devious plans to get, their kicks or whatever it is they get out of this nonsense. So I think it's safe to say that every platform will have some infiltration. But why was it you think Snapchat's the worst out the bad lot?
It's one of the bigger. It's user friendly, Craig. It's one of the biggest platforms in the world. The UK, we can't get any warrants to access it, so I'm probably one of the only people in the UK that's actually caught people through it. I caught Callum Toombs through it in Glasgow. It's very difficult for the UK police to liaise with the American police and get warrants for it. It's so protected. It's so encrypted. It's got a deletion capability. It loses the evidence. So the police won't pursue that because they know there's nothing at the end of all the manpower and the hours. If the app is deleting the evidence, they're not going to go and pursue it. They won't find anything. It's gone. It's been deleted. So by default, the groomers know this. So that's why they're all on it. Facebook Messenger's littered with paedophiles, Craig. 70, 80, 90% of the guys we catch are caught in Facebook Messenger.
Wow.
But Snapchat is diabolical. They're a lot more difficult to catch on Snapchat. But if you're diligent enough and you've got the willpower, you will. I have caught guys on it, but a lot of teams won't touch Snapchat. So all the UK's queries on Snapchat come to my inbox because people know I'll engage and I'll go and dig.
No, fair play to you, Alex. It's wonderful that you're doing what you're doing. A hat off to you. I think you do an incredible job. I think you get really ridiculous obstacles put in your way, and if you save one child through this, then it's been a tremendous effort. But I know through personally talking to you, sometimes it's one a day, sometimes it's more than one a day. So the amount of kids that you've saved from a lifetime of dark thoughts, I would imagine, the psychological damage. It's credit to you. Basil, while we've got Alex, have you got anything that you would
I just wanted to say I actually follow you on Twitter, Alex. I think you're brilliant. I follow AC Spartan. I'm a big fan of people like you and what you do. I was going to ask, have you ever had anyone of a political nature, an MSP or a councillor, take interest in your case and kind of say, actually, this is wrong, we should probably try and get this changed?
No.
That's a big shame. And I'm surprised by that, because that's why people go into politics, to make sure that good people, aren't, hit by the law like this. I hope that changes in the future. Can I just ask, have you tried, though? Have you tried to contact people?
People have contacted MSPs and MPs and politicians and celebrities on my behalf. They won't touch it with a barge pole. One guy put a post out saying that he would be in touch with me, and he never. And he's very popular. I won't throw him under the bus in Craig's channel, but he's very popular, very well respected, but he never got in touch. I think he said it under pressure from the amount of people that were tagging him. But
out of interest, Alex, is there anywhere you can view like your whole story? Is it on a podcast or is it on a video or something where people can take in the whole case?
Nah. Well, Years ago, I did the James English podcast, but that's old news now. Yeah, that's 5 years ago. It's growing mega arms and legs since then. Nailing the Fish. I've been on a few podcasts. Sean Toll, Social Sessions, who's asked me back on again. In fact, he's asked me to sit down with Tommy Sheridan and somebody else for a bit of a debate. I've never met Tommy Sheridan. I don't know if he's in the public domain anymore, but that would maybe be interesting. I don't know
if
what
you
the
ever
plan is there.
If you ever get the opportunity to sit down on a podcast and discuss in detail your entire case, send it to me. I would love to hear it. And listen, mate, I've got like 100,000 followers on Twitter. I'll push it out there. I would love people to see your story and just understand what's going on, because this is how things can change, right? On social media, it can be really bad, but it can also be used for good.
I've got years and years and years of my work all documented in notes and stuff, and text, handwritten notes, stuff I've found, corruption I've uncovered, how they've monetised the system, how abuse is monetised, all the corruption within the social services, the child protection services. I've got all of it. I could blow the lid off all of them, MAPA included. Do you know who MAPA are, Basil?
No, I don't. No.
Multiple agency public protection arrangements, massively funded to monitor like tier 1, violent sexual offenders, reoffenders, murderers, killers, everybody and anybody that requires monitoring after they are returned to civilian life from incarceration. A completely failed enterprise, unfit for purpose, overly funded, badly structured, terribly badly managed. They've lost track of tens of thousands of dangerous offenders all over the UK. They've got no clue where they are. And I would love someone big to help me blow the lid off of them, because they deserve all they get. They're empowered to protect the public, and they've failed.
We need to find. Follow me. If you give me a follow, mate, on Twitter,
Yep.
I'll DM you. Right, I'll get in touch with some podcasters and I'll see if you can get you on one of the shows. We need to get you an audience. Unfortunately, right, I don't have a big podcast straight, but there are people out there who follow me who do, and I will try my best to try and get someone to give you that platform so you can tell everyone what's been going on, mate. I would love to help you. I really would.
Yeah, happy to do it. Thank you for your support.
No problem, mate.
Sometimes I love talking to you and hate talking to you at the same time, because you're just a wealth of knowledge. But the knowledge that that I'm asking you questions, it's just always bloody horrific. Every time you educate me a wee bit more, every time I talk to you, it's just, and I've got no idea. I've probably got a bigger idea just through we've been fortunate enough to have a friendship with you, and we talk regular. So I probably got a bit of an understanding more than the general public, but it's nothing. I mean, where do we stop? When how long has this been going on? I think it's probably been going on forever. But the corruption, the hate, and I just think the reason that this will not happen the reason it will not happen the way it should is the amount of people who are involved. Not just in abuse, that'll be a big number, but covering it up, putting it under caps, sweeping it under carpets and stuff. And it's just frightening, because it's kids, it's young people. I know people that have been victims in the past have survived it, but you can't fix the memory. You can't take the memories away, and it's a knock-on effect. Thousands. I mean, it must be hundreds of thousands of people that are still alive that have been affected by this. Maybe, I don't know. Is it a million? I don't know.
I would say so.
Frightening. What, million? 7 figures?
I would say it's got to be. It's got to be, Craig. This is since the 70s. This is nothing new. And I tell you, if anyone thinks there's not organised grooming gangs in Scotland, then they're an absolute fool.
Well, that's kind of the way I've been over probably the last year, and try to highlight it, because some people are in a bubble up here, and you hear in the Yorkshire stuff, Rotherham, all that stuff, and you go, well, that's no your problem. It's a selfish way to look at it, but it is. And some of the stuff, I mean, I had one of the top KCs on doing a podcast from me yesterday for the second time, and the stuff he was telling me about the judiciary, the government influence, and I'm talking about Hollywood influence in the judiciary, it frightened the life out of you. And we're not any different. When you cross the border at Gretna, there's no a big barrier that stops bad people coming in. stops the maternity hospitals in Scotland giving birth to bad people who will go on to be bad people. I don't believe people are born bad, but something happens to make them bad. And we need to stop this nonsense. We need to stop this. That's and then they start the political thing, and we should be independent. It's part of the union, all that nonsense, and it's got nothing to do with that. It's just our communities have been probably proportionally as bad as others. And you and I spoke as well, and again, the narrative is probably because of the numbers that a lot of foreign people, a disproportionate amount of foreign people are involved in this, but they're not all foreign. We've got enough bad people of our own that we don't need to be bringing in other people's bad people here. It's one skill shortage we don't have, is having people who are bad to kids from within. So it's no, yes, and some of the bigger ones, but did you say to me one time that when they're part of a gang, it tends to be non-British people, but the sole movers tend to be British people? Was that right? Did I get that the right way around?
Yeah, predominantly the lone white groomer, the online opportunist, are white British guys, any colour of British guys, just sitting at home, sitting in the office, sitting in their van, hoping to snare a child. The organised stuff is, almost 100% British Pakistani men. That's from the National Crime Agency. That's not my facts. That's not Tommy Robinson's facts. That's from the big boys, Britain's FBI. That's documented. Why are people still arguing it? And why, when someone like Tommy puts it out there, does everyone throw the race card at him and bait him up? He's only regurgitating the facts from the National Crime Agency. So I don't understand the rhetoric. Because if the facts are coming from Britain's equivalent of the FBI, then no one can argue with them. So are the NCA racists?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the argument I have when you talk about immigration and folks say, "Oh, you're a racist." You say, "Well, the last 28 years worth of governments that have been voted into Westminster have all promised that they want to reduce immigration. So are they all racist as well?" Well,
no, it's just that there's
just not fulfilled the promise, but that's kind of how they get voted in. It was part of their manifestos.
Well, culturally, there's a problem with Pakistani men that want to rape British white girls, Sikh girls, Hindu girls. Anybody that's not their own, if they're not doing it to their own. They're raping children, so surely they're raping their own children or their neighbours' children. Why would they discriminate? I don't mind saying it. I don't mind having people throw shit at me. I couldn't care less, Craig.
I can answer that question.
The facts are, I don't target anybody on their colour. If you're molesting children, then I'm going to come and chap your door and put a phone in your face and light you up. I don't care what colour you are. Don't care what God you worship. Couldn't give a shit.
Yeah. Basil, what were you saying there?
I was just going to say I can answer that question if you want. You asked, you said you don't discriminate, Alex, and you know what, right? Fair play to you, because at the end of the day, what you care about is the crimes and the deeds of the people who've done it. Unfortunately, with the grooming gangs in particular, and these Pakistani guys, the reason they actively target non-Muslims, and as you said yourself, before it was white girls who they saw as, delinquents, etc. It was the Sikh community and the Hindu community going back to the 90s and the 80s. And the reason why is it is down to Islam for them. They see it as if you're not a Muslim, you are not worthy of their respect, and that's why they do what they do.
Well, why are gangs of Chinese men or Korean men or Polish men? Why are gangs of men from those countries not organising the rape of children?
Because they're not Muslims.
But nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody's like, you can't say it. This is why we now require a national inquiry, because for decades, everybody who was anybody looked the other way and said, you can't say this. We know they're doing it, but we can't call out the Pakistani community in Bradford. There'll be chaos in the streets. So they lied and they told the public it wasn't happening, and they called children prostitutes, and they criminalised children for taking drugs and alcohol and called them prostitutes. 10-year-olds, police officers called 10-year-old children prostitutes. They should all be in jail. Pensions stripped, titles stripped, OBEs stripped, everything. Take your knighthoods and ram them up your arse. They're not worth the paper they're written on. That's the Jimmy Savile Club. There is us and there is them. There are men who rape children and there are men who stop it. I know what side of the cloth I'm cut from. It's disgusting. And it needs brought to an end once and for all. And it will be Britain's shame. And we will be known all over the world for the rape capital of the planet. Because that's what we are.
And why is that? Why is that?
Because we're a sick society. We've been infiltrated by a sickness and a cancer that needs cut right out of society, Craig. There is something seriously wrong in this country with the volume of young adults and vulnerable children that are brutalised on a daily basis, and nobody does a single thing about it, while taking massive salaries and looking the other way. Club for the boys, all champagne Charlies, every one of them. Weaklings, weak men run this country. Right, put the Lions in charge.
No, fair play to you, mate. Fair play to you. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I was expecting to see you maybe for 5 minutes towards the end, but to come
Sorry
in
for ranting.
early. No, listen, it's all great stuff, mate. And what I'll do after this is, once the live's finished, I'll trim it to put it out as a video and try and share it with it, because some of the stuff you're saying will be, I know it's stuff that you've said many times in many different places, but to some in my audience, it might be important that they hear it. But just nuts, mate, just absolute nuts. See, before I go into questions, Basil, do you anything else you want to ask Alex while he's on?
I've got nothing I'd like to ask, but I just want to say thank you ever so much for doing what you do, Alex, because it really is. I mean, look, I'm a guy, of kind of, I guess, similar age to you, but I don't do what you do. It's incredibly brave to do what you do, and I just want to say a thank you for it.
Yep, it's no brave, Basil. I appreciate your kind words, but it's consumed me. I've got to do it. I cannot step away from it now. So it is what it is, mate.
I see on that matter, Alex, is there anything that could ever get you to stop doing what you're doing?
No chance.
Fair play to you. Fair play to you. Now, I've got some questions here, and some of them are particular to Alex, so I'm just going to go through them. What's been happening, guys? Anybody that's put a QQ before their question, I've moved that into a separate area on the chat that I can see, so I can go through them. So I'm just going to go through them quickly. Reform isn't the answer. I don't trust Nigel Farage. I know two people I trust deeply. Worked the NF at the start of UKIP back in the 90s, 2016 vote. I think Sarah Puchin put out a tweet today basically claiming this is some sort of victory for reform. And I was like, reform have done nothing but slaughter Rupert Lowe when he was raising funds to do an independent inquiry. And I think you weren't on when I was talking about it, Alex, but I think it's very distasteful today, the amount of people trying to claim a victory here. And you're like, And one person that none of them's named has been Tommy Robinson. And Tommy's probably been the biggest influence in raising awareness to me as a person about particularly the gangs.
Rupert Lowe did. Rupert Lowe thanked Tommy Robinson. Yeah, said he's been the number one guy behind all of this. So
even Tommy's biggest hater can't deny what he's done. Nobody can deny what he's done. And if you do, then you're talking through your bum, because you can't deny what he's done. You say what you want about him. Say what you want about him. He's an imperfect human being, just like the rest of us, right? Yeah. But he shone the light on it over 15 years, put his neck in the line. Yeah. He did, and no one will convince me any different. And I'm not up Tommy's arse. I know Tommy personally. I don't need to climb up Tommy's arse. Tommy's got a million flaws, just the same as I've got. But I'll tell you, when it comes to that, his heart and his head's in the right place. And that will never, no one will ever convince me otherwise.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that one, mate. Hawk News is asking, do you think Northern Ireland's troubles will get bigger and spread?
Absolutely.
I would suggest after coming back for them Thursday night late on, that if there's no big changes over there, that it'll not be getting smaller, that's for sure. And while I was over there, the guy that was kind enough to host me, Alan, who we done on a live the other night, he was going through our WhatsApp message group, I think it was, and he was just reading out all these towns, pulling down Shankill Road, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what's that? He's like, that's tonight. That was on the Thursday night expectation, and I think it's even bigger Friday night and potentially
People
Saturday night.
People have had enough, Craig.
Yeah.
That's it. The camel's back. I'm going to go. I need to go and say bye to the Bonner family, right? I'll jump back in.
Yeah, I'll take you off the stage now, Alex, so
cheers,
mate. With your personal stuff, and I'll just give me a wee shout, and I'll see you at the bottom of my screen when you're ready. Okay, pal?